Day 2 of the Warriors over the Wasatch Air Show just about ready to get underway. I'm Dan Hawkins.
Good morning. I'm Matt Gebhardt from KSL Channel 5. It's great to be here. We'll be hosting this thing for you today. What a privilege, what a fun day it's going to be.
We had a lot of fun yesterday. The Thunderbirds, the headliner act, and this great event returning to Hill Air Force Base after a 4-year hiatus and really comes during the Air Force's celebration of our 75th anniversary. The theme being Innovate, Accelerate, and Thrive. The Air Force at 75. And so we did have some problems. People getting on base yesterday. We want to let you know, knives, pocket knives, those kinds of things seem to be a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, Team Hill, proud and happy to have you as our guest. We'll do everything to make your visit safe and enjoyable. Every effort will be made to minimize delays in entering and leaving the event. Please make sure you check the prohibited items. They're graphic here. We ask for your cooperation in keeping dangerous items outside of the installation. All bags will be quickly inspected, and all individuals are subject to search prior to entering the base and the Air Force gates. Adhering to this list of prohibited and permitted items will help ensure you have a hassle-free and safe experience here at the Air Show.
Yeah, so make sure you plan your trip out here. A lot of people out at the Air Show yesterday, and so we want to give you a quick video on how to get out here to the Air Show.
Excited. We get phone calls and emails daily.
Expect heavy traffic around the base.
If you don't have to be on the roads near Hill Air Force Base or on I-15, then stay away. But if you're coming to the show, just be prepared for some traffic.
The best way to go? Ride Front Runner to the Clearfield Station. A shuttle takes you to the flight line.
Well, UTA is the answer. As far as getting to the Air Show, we've got a $5 special all-day pass.
You'll find that deal on the UTA Go Ride app.
And we're going to have trains every 30 minutes, so we're increasing the frequency, and we're increasing the frequency of the shuttles, so every 15 minutes for the shuttles. So, why fight the traffic? Why fight the congestion?
Trains will run 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
We're not going to make anybody wait very long. We'll get people back here to the Clearfield Station from the entrance to the base, and it'll be really a seamless thing.
You can also park at the Clearfield Station, Northridge High School, or Weber State University Davis campus and take a shuttle.
You'll hop on a shuttle and you'll get right to the Air Show gate, so limited walking and you'll be right there.
If you plan to drive on base, that opens at 8 a.m.
The public can enter via Westgate or Roy Gate, but they cannot enter in Southgate.
Also, do not park on the side of the road or interstate to watch the show.
Parking on the side of the road is probably not a good idea with the influx of traffic that we're expecting.
Do not come late. You want to be here for the whole day.
So again, we hope you consider taking the front runner trains and shuttle buses. Great job by the Utah Transit Authority running yesterday and obviously today. To find out more information on this service, please make sure you log in to the link at the bottom of our screen.
Hill Air Force Base has been a great weekend. We have a great weekend lined up for you. The Air Force Thunderbirds, the F-35 demo team, a P-51 Mustang, and tons of aerial and ground displays will be on hand. There will be static ground displays of numerous military and civilian aircraft to include the C-17 Globemaster III, the C-5 Galaxy, the Channel 5 News Chopper, and more. We do some acrobatics with that. In addition to those fantastic displays and events, the Warriors over Wasatch Air Show will also bring you STEM City. STEM City will be an exciting display of hands-on booths to encourage children and educate parents on opportunities in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math.
Yeah, so lots to see and do, and now we are absolutely delighted to bring in Colonel Jeff Holland, the new commander of the 75th Air Base Wing, and he is really the mayor, if you will, of Hill Air Force Base, responsible for 50-plus tenant units, including the Ogden Air Logistics Complex, the 388th Fighter Wing, which flies all the F-35s you see, and tons of other units located here at Hill. How are you, sir?
Well, Dan and Matt, I'm excited to be here. Day 2 is going to be fantastic, just like day 1.
Welcome to Utah. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, you're new to command here, relatively new to command here.
Yeah, new to command. So this is day 5 for me here at Hill. We are very excited to be here. I went to college in Colorado. My wife's from Colorado, so we just flip sides of the Rockies, or avid skiers. So already have passes for Snow Basin and the Epic Pass. Can't wait for the winter, but we're enjoying the summer as we get it now.
Yeah, and I can't think of a better way, in all reality, to take command. You get such an opportunity here to meet the community. How has that been, and why is this air show so important to the community?
Yeah, this is a great way to meet a lot of the community and get them all out at once. And so this air show is really about volunteers and the way that we interact with the community. So we have 1,500 airmen from Team Hill, but we also have 200 volunteers, law enforcement, fire, medical, emergency, special services, all from the area. And it really helps show how important the relationship between our communities are, both the base and the local communities.
What does it take to coordinate with the local community? What does it take to put a show like this on?
So this really is the culmination of about 18 months of really hard work. So, I mean, 2 days, 18 months to get there. And so it takes a lot of effort, a lot of talent, and it also takes actually a lot of money. And so it's really the partnerships and the sponsorships that go with the Utah Airshow Foundation that really make this possible. And so again, that tie between the base and the community, it's a great way for us to show how much we appreciate the community support every day.
Okay, so and I know you've only been here a few days, so you haven't had a chance to get spoiled by watching the F-35s fly outside your window every day. But what was your favorite thing yesterday as you got around and met people and saw all the acts? Like, we're still aviation enthusiasts at heart. What was the fun of yesterday for you?
So really the fun for me is seeing the excitement in the crowd. And so I was out there talking to folks, and we saw people from California, Idaho, Wyoming, had some folks Arizona, and they're all excited to be here. And so everyone who made it to the show yesterday had a great show, and we're excited to have them.
Yeah, so great stuff. And wait, speaking of,
that's like when you live in Layton, that's what they say. It's the sound of freedom every couple of minutes out here. It's great.
Yeah, so it's really glad that you stopped by. I know you're a very busy man, so we definitely appreciate it. And, good luck on your command tour here at Hill.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Welcome to Utah, sir.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, so our next guest is going to be Mr. Aaron Clark, and he is the director of the Hill Museum. But let's go ahead and take a look and see what the museum is all about.
I think this airplane is really cool.
From these planes,
these are bombs.
History passes down.
Was this one a bad guy one?
Teaching Briley and her brothers and cousins what came before them.
And it was used in the 1950s.
And how these mammoth machines,
I just like how it's made,
came to be.
I just think it's really cool to see it like up close.
The word engaging is what we're always looking for to get students interested in STEM.
Allison Sturgeon, STEM program manager at Hill Air Force Base, explains how science, technology, engineering, and math is a huge focus for the Hill Aerospace Museum.
And I think it's really cool.
Families can check out STEM City at the air show, a huge hands-on display of booths and activities at the base and museum.
35 different companies or organizations come bring STEM exhibits. And our highlight is the NASA rover. So we're going to have a full-scale model of Perseverance, as well as wind tunnels and tornado simulators, robotics, all kinds of activities.
Seeing these planes in action or on display is,
I think it's really cool,
as Briley would say. But learning the technology and engineering behind them,
this is where a lot of people started.
Inspiring.
If someone like me wanted to be like a person who wanted to like build airplanes and stuff, I could like know how they worked and how they flew and how the engine worked.
It helps if they have a why. Why should I learn math? Why should I learn science? And if they can come and see those things in action, I think it's really beneficial.
Passing down history.
It was the first one ever made.
While bringing up the future. Lauren Steinbrecher, KSL 5 News.
Welcome, Mr. Aaron Clark, the director of the Aerospace Museum. Let's jump right into it. What is it about Utah that this is the place for an aerospace museum and an Air Force base?
Well, yeah, it all kind of started right before World War II began. The government was looking for places to put bases to support the pending war, right? And so they looked at this place, and it provided the perfect location for an airfield. First and foremost, we're on a plateau. That's right by the Weber Canyon. And so aircraft used to fly below the weather, and they fly through that canyon into this area. So it provided a perfect kind of route to this area. Not only that, we have a railroad in Ogden that can help transport supplies. And in addition to that, we had a fantastic workforce that surrounded this area that could support any type of mission that was here. Coupled with that, we had a lot of state leaders who advocated, and they got several thousand acres and said to the government, hey, we have these several thousand of acres we'd like to give you for cheap if you build an airfield here. So that's kind of how all transpired at the beginning of World War II.
Wow.
Well, you're the consumer reporter, so that's right up your alley.
That is right up. That's right up my alley. Yeah.
So, can you speak a little bit to Hill's impact on national defense, really, over the last 75 years? Obviously, the Air Force, it's 75th anniversary year, but Hill has played a major role.
Yeah, it's really cool to think about how diverse the missions of Hill Air Force Base have been over the past 80 years. I mean, we ship munitions across the globe to our the commanders. We do test and training at the Utah Test and Training Range. We do a lot of things, but I think what's most important, and it's really cool to focus on for the 75th anniversary of the Air Force, is the primary mission of Hill Air Force Base for over the past 75 years has been depot maintenance. Do you guys know what that is? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, they work on a lot of airplanes and put them back in service.
Yeah, we fix weapon systems. So from aircraft to software to components to landing gear, the primary mission of Hill Air Force Base for over the past 80 years has been fixing weapon systems, and that's what we do here. And those weapon systems go to support warfighters across the world.
I know you were in conjunction in Tooele. There's a depot out there that I know deals with a lot of munitions. Do you guys work with them, or are you sort of, because you're separate branches? They're Army, I believe.
They're Army, yeah. So it just depends on the mission. Actually, half of Hill Air Force Base used to be a munitions depot at the onset of World War II, and then after the war we combined into one because the Air Force was growing. And that's what happened there. It was called the Ogden Arsenal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was it as loud here in Ogden as it was, or here in Layton as it was out there?
Was it what? Sorry?
Was it as loud planes fly over? Was it as loud blowing up stuff? And
they weren't blowing up stuff. They were making bombs.
Oh, I see.
Thankfully.
That was way too close to the flight line. They weren't blowing up stuff.
No, there you go. That's most.
So where can people go to learn more? I mean, this is some pretty fascinating stuff. I mean, you can't sleep on Hill history.
No, that's why we have a museum here called the Hill Aerospace Museum, because the mission of Hill Air Force Base has been so impactful and so diverse over the past 80 years. They can come to the Hill Aerospace Museum and see over 84 aircraft and a bunch of other items that depict the impact of Hill Air Force Base and Utah aviation. Oh, yeah.
Just when you said they were blowing things up.
From across the globe. So, yeah, the museum, it's free. We're open, Tuesday through Saturday. Come and learn more about Utah aviation and Hill Air Force Base history.
It is a cool museum. I've been there. You do a great job. It's a cool museum.
And what are the hours?
Yeah, we're open from 9 to 4, Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay, so thanks for joining us, giving us a little snippet. But, hey, we want to leave the crowd wanting more, so they got to come to the museum.
Come to the museum. Check it out.
All right, so that's going to wrap up our pre-show. But as you can see on the screen, the excitement has already started here at the Warriors over the Wasatch Air and Space Show, Day 2. So check out the Air Show website. You can check out Hill Air Force Base Facebook. Tons of acts on the KSL5 TV app, and watch the live stream all day long. And Matt, when you start talking about some pyrotechnics and the planes flying, now it's starting to feel like an air show.
I mean, it is really kicking off here. This is fun. I mean, as you just kind of watch what's going on behind us here, look at this guy coming in here. I mean, just an incredible. I'm stunned. I'm out of words. Look at the way I thought he was coming in. That was crazy. I mean, he's just the aerobatics of all of this is really something to see. It's this is my first air show, if I'm being totally honest with you, where I've seen this stuff in real life, and I can't believe I've missed it till now, because this is truly incredible being out here.
Yeah, and so again, the act's starting to go up, and pretty, I guess not shockingly, the crowd has started to file in, and the cameras and the eyes are already skyward. So lots to see, and we got a full lineup, tons of great guests for you here today. Dan Hawkins alongside Matt Gebhardt from KSL5, the NBC affiliate in Salt Lake City. And we are now absolutely delighted to bring in our next guest, Mr. Kevin Ireland from the Utah Air Show Foundation. And Kevin has played a significant role for over a decade in planning the air shows out here at Hill. Very familiar, obviously, with the ins and outs, how the air shows benefit not only the local community from an economic perspective, but the recruiting aspect of air shows as well. So day 2, Kevin, we had you on yesterday. Obviously, I know putting on the actual event can be stressful, so how you feeling?
Not too bad, although I didn't eat anything until about 7 o'clock last night. So, but it's all good. It was a great day. We had a huge crowd, much larger than we were anticipating, and we were anticipating a lot of folks. I was just thrilled, and everybody we spoke to just loved it and had a great time.
It's got to be a bit of a relief, right? I mean, if it's anything like doing television news, right? You work all day and then you get those couple of minutes on air. These are your 2 days to shine. You're shining, man. This is awesome.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. You know, we had some great dignitaries here yesterday. The governor was out. Just had a great time. You know, Senator Mike Lee was out. We just had several folks out visiting, and everybody just really enjoyed it. And the crowds were just cheering all day. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I just imagined you talked about the crowd was larger than you anticipated, and I'm looking out outside our broadcast position, and I'm like, that seems really full already. And I just imagine that guy out at the gate with a clicker, right, yesterday. And is that guy tired?
Yes.
He's got to be tired.
The turnstiles gear.
Yeah. I wish we could click them in. There's just too many people, and it's too fast. But we have ways to measure it, and we've been measuring it every hour or so. We take photos and look at the grid, and that's kind of how we get our guesstimation on where we're at and what we're doing. So it's been awesome.
So was there any guesstimates you'd like to share on day 1 attendance?
My field was about 300 yesterday.
My goodness.
That's incredible.
I mean, that transitions into this is not an Air Force event. It's an Air Force event, but this really is a community event.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about the community. It's the Air Force saying, come in and let us show you what we do. And it's for the community. You're exactly right. And that's what we wanted. And we knew after the COVID spell that there was going to be a lot of interest, and it was gigantic. We're expecting the same thing today.
Yeah, and you mentioned the visitors from out of state coming a long ways just to come to this air show. What kind of impact does having this show here at Hill have on the surrounding community's economy?
Well, it's gigantic. As we talked yesterday, I mean, you know, we fill hotels. People come and stay here for 3 or 4 days. They go down and visit the Big Five after they do the air show that's free. So it impacts the state greatly over a week or so because they're buying food, they're visiting the dinosaur park or lagoon, and as well as the big national parks, and they come out to the air show as well. Well, I have people in California that call and say, what are your dates? Because we plan our vacation around your dates.
Wow. When KSL asked me to do this, asked if I was available to do this, my first answer was yes, please. And then my second thing I said was, listen, I'd like it a lot, but here's what I know about airplanes. That one's red and noisy. As somebody who can speak with a certain amount of authority, what can folks who come out today or are watching here expect to see?
Oh, yeah, we have all things to see from World War II aircraft all the way up to the modern F-35s. We have P-51s, F-18s, F-15s, L-39s, all military aircraft at some place in time, as well as what we call, affectionately, flip-floppers. And those are the guys you were just seeing. So Bill Stein and Rob Holland, our local guy, Brad Werson from Logan. They're the ones that go up and do all the fun stuff and flip over and do the flat spin. So we have everything for everybody. And let's not forget about the fire truck, or the jet truck, excuse me, which you'll see here shortly this morning with a little teaser, which will really light up your morning.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, we were considering changing our broadcast location, and one of our cameramen actually said, I was fighting the fight or flight syndrome on whether I should bail out of my broadcast position. But like a good airman, he stayed. So
that's how it should be.
Great job, Sergeant Harris. But, with all the airplanes, yesterday I saw the Yak 55, I guess they call it the Yak 110. I was curious, is there just one pilot in there, or are there actually two?
Yes, Jeff Borbin designed that airplane with a buddy of his. The theory is it was at a bar on a napkin, but I won't hold to that. But they came up with this idea. Jeff used to fly the Jack Lynx biplane. It was called the Sasquatch. And it was a prop plane that they had mounted a jet to. And he said, well, why don't we take two planes and put them together with two props and a jet underneath it? and they built it and made it work, and it is the most incredible airplane you've ever seen in the sky. The paint schemes are completely different, yet they're stuck together. When he's coming at you, it's just a normal prop sound, and then he kicks on the jet and does one of these, and you're like, that's impossible. But that's what it is. And those are the things we love about air shows.
It was so cool. It was like the Yak 55. Oh, let's just call it the Yak 110. 55 times 2. It makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
Well, it also fits on a bar napkin when you What is it about Hill? What is it about this show and Hill Air Force Base in particular that brings out 300, you say, approximately yesterday?
It's a couple things. And here comes the truck that we talked about. It's a couple things. One is we're centrally located in the West, so we can pull from an 8-state area because we're easy to get to. And then secondly, we've built this up over the years, and people have come to expect a bigger and better show, and we hire the best pilots we can get, and we've built a reputation. And that's really what makes the draw. People know what we're going to have. They want to come see the best, and it's easy to get here.
Yeah, and speaking of Shockwave,
there
it goes. And just so you know, that's 3 jet engines, 36,000 pounds of horsepower.
Yeah.
We'll get some wings on that thing. Let's go. This is an Air Force Base.
Trust me, it would take off if you put wings on it. That thing is something else. And Chris is a great driver and has a great time with it.
Yeah, and then apparently they have a world record of like 376.
Yeah, his dad's been in the business for many, many years.
Oh, man.
You've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite acts?
Oh, I have several. I mean, it goes every year. It changes a little bit because the acts change.
Yeah, right.
I do like the Yak 110. Bill Stein, Rob Holland are very good friends. And love the F-35. It's just such an incredible aircraft that we get to see fly here at Hill Air Force Base. And then,
Quiet. We're trying to do TV. Quiet.
and then, God makes you smile and laugh. So I mean, I just love it all.
The history lesson of it is, just coming out to this show, there's all kinds of cool new aircraft doing stunts and what have you, but there's a history lesson just in sitting on the tarmac here.
Oh, no question. You get to see everything, like I said, from train L-39s. We have the Vampire, which is a Canadian fighter plane, and we have somebody that's flying here, Jerry Conley, great guy. Then we got the F-18 sitting right out here that we all saw in the movie a couple weeks ago. So it's just a great cross. If you don't like airplanes, there's still a ton of other things to do. We got STEM City, we've got food, we've got entertainment. It's just a great day, and it's all free.
Yeah, and you mentioned STEM City, and we're going to talk to Allison Sturgeon here. There's a ton to do when you're not looking at the sky.
Absolutely, and that's the idea, is to build an event, a production that you can come and enjoy everything. It's not just about the planes.
Yeah, and it's a little bit.
It is.
Take a deep breath. That's not fog.
It's a potent slug. It's a potent slug.
But isn't that the beauty of this air show? And I'm sure this is why you do it. I mean, I would think it's the bringing the community to share this.
It's the kids. The Air Force they do air shows for one reason is for recruiting, and we all know that. But it's also to let the veterans that are out here history.
Yeah.
And as they say, and show them what happens out here at Hill Air Force Base.
Are there touching moments? You mentioned the kids, you mentioned veterans. As you've been doing this as long as you have, are there touching moments?
Every air show. We had brand new recruits put their hand up and say they wanted to join the Air Force yesterday. Doesn't get any better than that, because that's what this is about. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess the last thing for you is really like, I think you better enjoy today because I feel like you're going to be very busy tomorrow.
Yeah, very much so. And we crank it back up for the next 2 years, and 24, look out, here we come.
Well, because I think a lot of people don't know air shows really go on that 2-year cycle. You can't just put an air show together.
Not one of this size. There's some smaller venues that can do a every year show, but this size, it takes 2 years to plan and put all this together.
Welcome back. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
Good
for having
seeing
us
you,
out.
Matt.
Yeah.
So Kevin Ireland, the Utah Air Show Foundation director, a huge reason why this air show exists, and Team at Hill really thanks him for his partnership. So lots to see. As Matt, you get a great look at the crowd already starting to file in. We got the heat up here in the booth, some pyrotechnics.
Yes, we do.
We've had some airplanes in the air. The crowd is rocking and rolling already. I mean, I don't know how long it's been since you've been at Hill, but how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm currently looking at this thing, which, as I aforementioned, I wish I was more of an aviator. I feel I recognize that one from Sonic the Hedgehog. but I mean, what these planes are able to do, the maneuvers they're able to pull in the air, it's a lot different than the 757. Most of us have the experience of going in, you know?
Yeah, and so we're really lucky to talk to Kevin Ireland, and him and his team do a lot of work with the Hill team to put this air show together. And so now we talked about STEM City. So joining us now, Miss Allison Sturgeon, an electrical engineer who's worked here at Hill for several years in support of outreach for K through 12 STEM programs, and you've really supported thousands, really, of events with tens of thousands of volunteer hours. Just amazing to reach thousands of students over the area. So, Allison, welcome back. You were with us yesterday, day 2. How was the crowd at STEM City yesterday?
Oh, the crowd was great. Huge. Just what we expected, and this morning it started even earlier. So we're in great shape.
The joke, the insult of children is, oh, well, you're not a rocket scientist. You guys are rocket scientists. That's what you guys are doing out here.
Well, there are some that are. I won't claim that, but there are some, yes.
What is it about science, technology, engineering, and math that goes hand in hand with a branch of the military?
Okay. Well, the Air Force is very technological in everything that we do. As you can imagine, what it takes for those planes to fly, it's pretty remarkable. The brand new F-35 that we get to work on right here, we had the first squadron, which is all very exciting, has hundreds and hundreds of people working on it continually with the software, which is a huge part of that plane.
Right.
And
They're
so
computers.
They are computer with wings is what we nickname it. So we have hundreds of people doing software, and then of course there's always lots of electronics. And me being an electrical engineer, I love that part of it. So just the capability of that plane and everything that we do. We work on satellites and like you said, rockets and all the planes here, and even what you consider an old plane, we're constantly updating it and there's great software on all of those things. So we need lots of kids to hopefully get excited about STEM and see what a great career a STEM career can be.
And yesterday we had Brigadier General Richard Gibbs, the commander at the Air Logistics Complex, Don Jessen as well from the ALC. And, they talked about, Don in specific, talked about how they're always looking to bring on, STEM-specific type jobs like, software engineer, those kind of jobs that you talked about. And so can you kind of talk about how what you do here at Hill Air Force Base kind of feeds into what the mission here at Hill demands, and ultimately what the Air Force needs to fly, fight, and win?
Yeah, so we're the early recruiting piece, I guess, so to speak, but we're just trying to get as many kids as we can interested because there's just a natural decline in how many kids actually go into a STEM career, but we work really hard to let them know the fun part of it and then what they can do for the Air Force or even for our contractors that support the Air Force. All of that's important. And so we're trying to support science fairs and robotics teams going in to give career presentations hands-on STEM demos. We do lots of tours, bringing students here. We have a very large program called Starbase, where we bring students in at 5th grade, which is a really pivotal year, where they're going to start kind of deciding what they're going to do once they get to junior high and high school. So we bring them in. They get 5 full school days to be on base. They get all kinds of hands-on activities. We give them a tour, and then they get to meet, see what a real engineer and scientist looks like, that we're not that strange, and they can see that it really could be a great career. Then we have another program called Legacy that is an actual true STEM pipeline. So we start students at age 11. They come back every year, and we keep them all the way through college graduation in a STEM career, and they get to work on base for 8 weeks, get real world experience, real hands-on experience. And they're really excited to come back year after year. In fact, we had 100% of our students from last year come back this year. So that just tells us that, I guess, what we're doing is working.
If I'm a middle schooler or a high schooler and I want to be you one day, what class do I pay extra attention in? Physics? Calculus?
Yeah.
Electrical engineering. I don't know if they have electrical engineering classes.
But there are a lot of schools now that do have some engineering classes. The opportunities now compared to when I went to school are just off the charts. There's so many concurrent enrollment classes so that students can take and get college credit. But yeah, get those math classes, physics, chemistry, any of that stuff that you can get under your belt. There's lots of computer science classes now as well in high school. And what I love is I tell them, go take it, try it. You might like it. Don't say no before you've tried it, because you don't know what you don't know. And so it's really important to at least get the flavor of what it is before you say no.
Yeah, so I'm curious, you mentioned the 5th graders, and they come out to the base and spend really a whole week out here. But what are the skill sets that they're really amazed? Is there some aha moments during those weeks? I'm just curious. My son's a 7th grader, and he had it was kind of the similar experience. And I remember him coming home every day, and he just had these aha moments. You could see all of a sudden
guess what I saw today. Yeah.
So I'm just curious, what are some things through your programs that you can see the light go on?
Yes. Well, one thing that's really fun is we talk about the 3 principles that Newton physics. And they get to actually do it and see it. Force equals mass times acceleration. It's not just this little thing on the board. They actually put it into practice. And they get to shoot balls of different mass and do kinds of experiments on their acceleration. And we shoot rockets, and they get to do robotics. I'd say those are probably some of the favorites. And then another one is they do an egg. And instead of the traditional egg drop, we actually put it on a space shuttle, and they're flying it. They have to do a crash landing, and they get all these constraints and things that they can try to build something to keep their egg from breaking. So and we go through the engineering design process. There's 8 steps of the engineering design process that they go through to design this constraint for their egg, and that's definitely one of the favorite ones.
The crashing part sounds easy enough.
Yes, that part is.
Keeping the egg intact, maybe the challenge. You mentioned there's fewer kids. You've seen a decline in maybe engineering, STEM type skills, or interest in it. Is there anything? Are there silver linings? Is there anything that leaves you inspired today?
Yes, definitely. A lot of the programs that I've worked on for years found a way to be virtual. So I do a lot of work with Junior Achievement, for one thing, that's very active in Utah. And they, on the fly, really quickly came up with a virtual career fair. And in reality, now that reaches the entire state of Utah, where before their fair would only pretty much hit the Wasatch Front. So it's been wonderful that a lot of good things have come out, but we found ways to do things virtually that now can reach the entire state rather than just local. So there have been some great things come out of it.
When you say entire state, I mean, one of the things I've noticed in my job with things like being able to Zoom interviews, right, is now all of a sudden, if the expert's in D.C., I don't need to hop on an airplane and fly to D.C. Are you now a national program?
Well,
Not really.
Not yet.
If I was more than one person doing my job, I'm always telling my supervisor I could keep 10 people busy with what I could do and what I want to do. But it is just pretty much me getting everything organized. So if we just try to keep what we've got going. But it would be great if we could do that. But I do interface with the Air Force STEM program is located out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. And so we're very integrated. We get resources from them. We learn from each other with the 40 other bases that are doing something similar. And so in that way, we're definitely a national program.
Yeah.
So, last question before we let you go. How can people learn more about some of your programs if they want to get involved?
Well, tell your teachers, because we go out and support teachers mostly. So if the teachers contact the public affairs at Hill Air Force Base, they can get that information to me, and we can come out and support your schools. That's probably our biggest thing that we do.
Awesome. And so we have STEM City happening all day long. So you guys will be here all day long. So if you're coming out to the air show, take the kiddos. You got some AC,
we do.
I've been told. And where are you located?
We are on the north end of the flight line in Fire Station 1. It's got big bay doors. It's easy to spot. We've got a few exhibits outside as well. But, yeah, don't forget to come see the Mars rover for sure.
All right. Well, Allison, thank you so much for your time, and we really appreciate what you do for the community and here at Hill.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at what you might be able to see at STEM City if you stop by today. Okay. I think we're just going to keep it. Oh, here we go.
Planes.
These are bombs.
History passes down.
Was this one a bad guy one?
Teaching Briley and her brothers and cousins what came before them.
And it was used in the 1950s.
And how these mammoth machines,
I just like how it's made.
Came to be.
I just think it's really cool to see it like up close.
The word engaging is what we're always looking for to get students interested in STEM.
Allison Sturgeon, STEM Program Manager at Hill Air Force Base, explains how science, technology, engineering, and math is a huge focus for the Hill Aerospace Museum.
And I think it's really cool.
Families can check out STEM City at the air show, a huge hands-on display of booths and activities at the base and museum.
35 different companies or organizations come bring STEM exhibits. And our highlight is the NASA rover. So we're going to have a full-scale model of Perseverance, as well as wind tunnels and tornado simulators, robotics, all kinds of activities.
Seeing these planes in action or on display is,
I think it's really cool,
as Briley would say. But learning the technology and engineering behind them,
this is where a lot of people started.
Inspiring.
If someone like me wanted to be like a person who wanted to like build airplanes and stuff, I could like know how they worked and how they flew and how the engine worked.
It helps if they have a why. Why should I learn math? Why should I learn science? And if they can come and see those things in action, I think it's really beneficial.
Passing down history.
It was the first one ever made.
While bringing up the future. Lauren Steinbrecher, KSL 5 News.
All right, now this is pretty cool. New to STEM City's lineup this year is NASA's Roving with Perseverance exhibit. It features full-size model of the agency's Mars Perseverance rover and the history-making Ingenuity helicopter. Perseverance is currently collecting and storing Martian rock samples for a potential return to Earth for further analysis. Here to talk more about that is Mr. Brian Clement with NASA, a NASA engineer. Welcome, sir.
Thanks.
Welcome to Utah.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about your exhibit.
So we have the Mars Perseverance rover model in the exhibit, and we also have a model of the Ingenuity helicopter. And so the Perseverance rover is currently, as you said, collecting samples on Mars in a place we call Jezero Crater. And we're collecting those samples for eventual potential return to here on Earth so that we can apply the full suite of our scientific capabilities and really understand what's in those samples from a perspective of habitability, signs of life, and understanding the history of our solar system and Mars specifically.
Well, so I got to ask, I mean, That sounds really cool, but I'm curious. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up, working out things about Mars.
Right, driving around a car on Mars.
Yeah.
How did I find the best job I've ever had?
Yes, I mean, it seems pretty cool.
It is. I feel really lucky, first of all. So by training, I am an environmental microbiologist, and I work in the space called planetary protection. So my full title is the Mars Sample Return Program Planetary Protection Systems Engineer. There'll be a test on that later.
I was like, if there's one thing the government's good at, it's long titles.
Yeah, and so, where my expertise comes in is that when we go out to other planets, we want to make sure that our spacecraft are clean and we don't deliver the things we're trying to detect. It would make no sense to detect Earth life on another planet.
Oh.
Right? So we want to protect our science capabilities. And when we return samples, we also want to make sure that we're safely containing everything and absolutely certain that what is in there is what we're analyzing. So what came from Mars is what we're analyzing.
That sounds complicated. How do you do that? I would think anything on the outside, I would think, as a layman, would burn off as I go through the atmosphere, having seen enough movies about things burning off in the atmosphere. But it sounds complicated.
The Mars Sample Return Program, that Perseverance is really the first step in. So Perseverance is the first step in what we call the Mars Sample Return Campaign. And Perseverance is sampling at Jezero Crater in the Delta, where we think, right now we're in the Delta, where we think we have some really interesting samples to collect. And those samples, up to 30 of them, will come back in tubes like this. So we'll bring like 30 of these tubes back in this very complicated scheme where we put the samples into orbit, we collect them in orbit around Mars, bring them back to Earth, and then the large spacecraft that brings them back to Earth will drop off a small spacecraft that will come through the atmosphere and experience the high heat of reentry. But the samples themselves will be in a container within a container inside that spacecraft, so they'll be well protected.
That doesn't sound complicated.
No, not at all. Am I allowed to touch this? Am I contaminating it? So, and I don't know if we're able to get back to that two shot here, but so this tube, how does this go into the surface of Mars, I presume, or the atmosphere?
So what that is a tube that gets installed in the drill bit, and the drill bit is a coring drill bit.
I see.
And so you see how it's open on one end there.
Yeah.
And that allows the core to enter the tube as the drill bit is proceeding down into the rock that it's drilling into.
I see. So this hooks there, and then it drills down and just somehow it'll seal off on the bottom. So the sample size is that big?
Yeah, it's roughly the size of a Sharpie marker.
What are you able to do with that?
We're able to do a lot. So when we bring the samples back to Earth, we're really going to be able to apply the full suite of our scientific capabilities. And as science has progressed, since the last time we brought back samples from a distant place, which was first done from the moon, we've advanced science to where you only need a few grains of rock really to make tremendous discoveries. And so the miniature size of the samples is actually a benefit because we can get a diverse set of samples and bring them all the way back here.
I'll hand this back to you. We have a full shot on you. What have you discovered so far? What do you hope? Better question. Predict the future. Use your crystal ball. I know you're a scientist, so you're not supposed to guess, but use your crystal ball. When this one comes back, what are you going to learn, do you think?
I think we'll learn a tremendous amount about the organic material that we've been detecting.
Yeah.
Organics are essentially the building blocks of life. And we know that we've seen organics come back on meteorites from Mars. So when Mars gets hit with something, it throws things into space, and some of those arrive here on Earth as meteorites. And so we've seen the organics. Now we want to get a sample that comes from a place that we know. So we've carefully curated, collected these samples. We'll learn a lot about what really makes up those organics in their natural habitat on Mars.
All right, so I wanted to switch gears because I saw in the intro for you that it talks about the Ingenuity helicopter. I want to know a little bit more. How did it make history?
Oh, Ingenuity made history by being the first spacecraft to perform powered flight on another planet. And Ingenuity is a tremendous technology demonstration mission. It was really designed to demonstrate a capability, teach us about how to perform powered flight, and it's become just a sensation in terms of providing information to us. We recently collected a series of pictures that help inform us for future Mars missions because we were able to take pictures of the parachute and the back shell, or the part of the capsule that the Perseverance rover landed or came through the atmosphere in. And you yourself, you can go online and look at those pictures. They're tremendous. It just changes everything, being able to fly over something, take a picture. You can guide the rover. You can learn something about something you don't want to approach too closely with the rover. It's a really novel and game-changing capability, I think, for the future.
So bringing it back to the air show here at Hill Air Force Base going on for the rest of the day, if I come out, you have demonstrations of some of these things. What can somebody hope to experience?
Oh, well, they can come by and they can take a look at the rover. Most people that come by and look at the rover, they see it for the first time. They go, it's so big.
Yeah.
And 2,200 pounds. It's a big vehicle.
Put it 2,200. Put that in terms of my minivan.
That's about, depending on the minivan, about 1/3 of your minivan.
Okay.
1/3 to 1/2 of your minivan in size. It takes a lot of work to land something that big on Mars.
Yeah.
And then we've also got the Ingenuity helicopter model, so you can see that too and understand, wow, how small it is, how light it is, and then how big the blades are, because Mars' atmosphere is only 1% of ours, so there's just not that much to work with there, right?
You really got to beat the ground.
Beat the air.
Or beat the air, rather. But yeah.
Oh, well, we really appreciate you stopping by. So you guys will be at STEM City all day long?
All day long. People can come by. We've got a ton of NASA stickers out there to give out, and there's a bunch of us that can answer a bunch of questions and share in everybody's excitement with the Mars rover.
You mentioned a website, but where can people go to find out a little bit more about these projects?
Yeah, you can find all of the information I'm talking about at mars.nasa.gov. And remember that all the pictures we take come down and they're in the public record. And so you can spend days and days looking at all the neat things that we've done out there.
All right. Well, Brian Clement from NASA talking about Mars Perseverance rover. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So, pretty cool stuff, right?
Yeah, way cool. I'm geeking out here a little bit. So as you can see here, the crowd is absolutely filling in here at Hill Air Force Base. It's cool. It's breezy. It's a lovely day out here. If you were out here yesterday, you were sweltering. Today it's going to get sweltering, but it's not quite that sweltering just yet. It's lovely on the tarmac here, as we've seen a couple of really kind of amazing demonstrations at this point of what airplanes, unlike the commercial ones we're all used to flying on, can actually do.
Yeah. So. Tons to see and do. Get out to STEM City. This event is free to the public. I think we really haven't mentioned that, but I think that's important to note.
Is.
I mean, you get a lot. You get some bang for your buck.
Listen, as a Utah's favorite four-letter word, free. we love free. Yeah, come on out. It's an amazing show. And speaking of things that airplanes can do, that they're not supposed to do, sir. Let's welcome Major Jake. And help me with your last name, if you would, please, sir.
Impellizzeri. I go by Primo, so that's probably the easiest way.
We'll go with Primo.
Primo. Yeah, that I can pronounce.
All right, let's go with Primo. So the Thunderbirds, based out of Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, the headline act here at the Warriors over the Wasatch Air Show. The Thunderbirds perform for people all around the world, displaying the pride, precision, and professionalism of the United States Air Force at air shows, flyovers. They're really exciting and inspiring crowds and showcasing the elite skills that every pilot has to possess. And obviously, you demonstrate the incredible capabilities of the Air Force's multi-role fighter, the F-16 Fighting Falcon. So, Primo, number 8, tell us what you do for the Thunderbirds.
Yeah, Dan, so I'm the advanced pilot and narrator, which is honestly the greatest position, best number on the team, but I'm biased, so. But what I do, so I'm the advanced pilot. What that means is usually the team deploys on a Thursday. I will deploy with my crew chief on Wednesday, so he'll be flying with me in the back seat. We will arrive, and between myself and him, I do all the air show coordination, all the air show setup, and I get the airfield ready for the team's arrival on Thursday. And then during the actual show, I'm the hype man, so you get to hear me on the mic. So I'm the narrator from the show. I get to control people's emotions with the show, and it's awesome. And then outside of that, the best part of the job is I get to do the hometown hero flights. So myself and Thunderbird 7, who you talked to yesterday, we get to do those flights, which are absolutely incredible.
So I believe you guys flew a couple Olympians the other day. Is that correct?
We did. So Justin and Ashley, Justin Schoenfeld and Ashley Caldwell, we actually met them out in Indy, and they're the gold medalists out in China for the last Winter Olympics aerial freestyle skiing event, and they killed it. They're just incredible human beings. What they do on a day-to-day basis kind of mirrors what we do. You know, both professional, both high-performing people, and we had a blast.
High stress, I would imagine, too. It's what is it like to fly one of these airplanes?
It's the greatest feeling in the world. I grew up always wanting to fly. My dad was in the Air Force for about 10 years. He flew C-130s. And then he's been in aviation his whole life, too. He just retired from Delta. So I've been around aviation, which got me into wanting to be in the military, wanting to fly. The military is honestly the best flying you could do in the world. And then flying the F-16 right behind us, again, biased, but the greatest fighter jet the Air Force has to offer. We fly the Block 52s, so it's a Pratt & Whitney motor.
Big engine.
29,000 pounds of thrust. So you can see how small the F-16 is. With that big motor, we can pretty much accelerate going straight up. If you guys are NASCAR fans or Indy fans, that's more thrust than the entire Daytona 500 combined in one of those F-16s. Just one.
So a little stronger than my minivan.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Couple more horsepower.
Just a couple more, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the show itself and what folks who either are going to watch online or hopefully are coming on out to the base to see in person? What are they going to see today? And can you tell us a little bit about what's behind it?
Yeah, so we fly at 3:30 today, so please come on out. We're excited to see everybody. Yesterday we had an incredible turnout, but the last time we were here was in 2018, and a lot has changed since 2018. So 2020, we took that year. Obviously, all the air shows were canceled for COVID. We were doing the America Strong mission, so flying over all the hospitals, giving back to the hardworking men and women of the hospitals. But we took that year and redesigned our entire show. So between working with our team members, working with some people in Disney, we mirrored the show off of, if you think about a Disney kind of firework display, we kind of mirrored it off that. So the show has a purpose. There's a theme to the show. It tells a story between the whole about 36 minutes. Between the music, the narration, and the actual maneuvers. So if you haven't seen us since 2018, you're in for a surprise. We added a couple more sneak passes, so keep your head on a swivel.
I think all I saw was just the buzz in the crowd yesterday. I can't remember. It was one of the two passes, but it was like a noticeable. The entire crowd just changed its demeanor. It was really awesome to see.
Oh, yeah. The show starts off with a bang. So we start off, high-intensity music with the Clover Loop opener. Then we bring people down a little bit. We have some false finales, and then we end it with the big old grand finale. So we're super excited to be here.
Very cool. Obviously, it takes a team to pull off your mission. Talk a little bit about the makeup of the team, some of the unique aspects of your team.
Absolutely. So we have about 140 of the greatest enlisted members in your United States Air Force.
140? How many?
140.
All pilots? Or
Nope. So we have 12 officers on the team. 1 through 8 are pilots, and then 7 through 12 are what we call support officers.
Okay.
And within those 12 officers, they're in charge of the 140 enlisted members on the team. And the team spans between 28 different AFSCs, so 28 different career fields make up the Thunderbirds. So you could think of us essentially as a mini wing at Nellis Air Force Base, with number 1 being the commander-leader of the team.
And obviously, one of the big buzzes right now in the Air Force, and it's really, to accelerate change, but we talk about multi-capable airmen. You guys are like the epitome of the multi-capable airmen, it seems.
We are. So everybody on the team, nobody does just one job. Everybody does everybody else's job, and you have to do that when we're deploying. So this year, we're at 32 separate show sites. We have 69 shows. It's our 69th year of the Thunderbirds. So picking up and moving the team of 70 people every week, each individual person has to do more than just their job description. And, the Air Force talks about the ACE concept, and the Thunderbirds epitomize the ACE concept within the Air Force and really the military as a whole.
What's the coolest thing about What is the coolest thing about flying a Thunderbird?
I grew up, I remember going to the air shows as a kid. So I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. The Dayton Air Show is a big air show. Every other year it'd either be the Thunderbirds, Blue Angels, just on and off. It's awesome being able to represent not only this brand, the Thunderbirds, but also this brand. So being able to be the ambassador in blue, represent America, being able to showcase the pride, precision, and professionalism of not only the Air Force, not only the Thunderbirds, but the United States as a whole. It's just awesome being an ambassador.
Yeah, Air Force's ambassadors in blue, but I got to imagine being in such a elite organization and obviously, the best of the best from around the Air Force. You guys got some like secret cool handshakes or, I see the party it looks like when the planes are taking off.
That's right.
I mean, you can generally see the passion that you guys all have for what you do, and it's beautiful. But like, seriously, you got a secret handshake? Like, can you give us a little demo or something?
We have fun. So every pilot, if you see them taxiing out, every pilot develops, we call it the gang sign. So every pilot develops their gang sign with their crew chief. So each pilot has a DCC and an ADCC that are in charge of, essentially, you see how good those jets look out there. It's the hard work of the maintainers on a day-to-day basis. And yeah, I got one. So mine starts out with the 8 load. So, starts out like that. And then I chop everything. And then, so I used to be in Japan. So I was the PAC FF-16 demo pilot out in Japan. So I got to give a bow to all my,
Okay. All right.
all my Japanese fans, and just traveled around the Pacific, and then, to the Delta Burst.
So me and Matt have some life goals today. We're going to
That's
come
right.
up with like a secret PA handshake. I don't know.
That sounds a lot easier than
learning.
learning to fly a Thunderbird.
Yeah.
Handshake we can figure out.
We'll figure that out. But, we'll close out on this. Obviously air shows, inspire the next generation of airmen and guardians. It's an air and space show, but how important is that for the Air Force, that mission for you guys?
Our mission, recruit, retain, inspire. The inspiration piece is really why we do what we do. We like to, you'll hear Thunderbird 1 say this all the time, and the team stands for a beacon of excellence, and the name of service to something greater than yourself. And that's what we try to present everywhere we go throughout the country and really the world. And if we could just get, if just one person in this crowd inspires to be greater or to give back to service something greater than themselves, then, we've accomplished our mission. It only takes one person. And then that one person will do something great. And then people see it. It's infectious.
Well, Primo, we certainly appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. You got
Yes,
a lot
sir.
to prepare for. Big headline act, the Thunderbirds. You see some more aircraft in the sky. Looks like an F-22 and an A-10. But let's learn a little bit more. I know it's not the F-16, but let's look at this F-22 package. Take a look at the F-22 flying across the sky. It's a beautiful day. The wind's starting to die down. It's actually pretty
great
nice out here,
yeah.
Matt.
It's
And
getting there, yeah.
how cool a job does Primo have? Like, really? Like,
I mean, he doesn't get to sit here and talk into a microphone
no,
like you and me, but
it's not as cool.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, but, really cool. You can see the love of aviation that these guys have, and they're just so good. You see the A-10 Thunderbolt 2. I think they call that the Army's best friend. It's a position to ground to support. But let's go ahead and pitch to the Air Boss and learn more.
Eventually, it also became a great dogfight aircraft. In fact, the highest scoring ace in the European theater was Francis Gabby Gobreski from Oil City, Pennsylvania. Of the many aircraft that he flew, he did get aerial victories in the P-47 Thunderbolt Roman numeral 1. So in the tradition of Fairchild Republic, Long Island, New York, they renamed the aircraft and gave it a Roman numeral 2 based on the great history. We see that in a number of aircraft, including the F-35, a Lightning Roman numeral 2, paying tribute to the piston-powered, propeller-driven aircraft of World War II. And an airshow buddy by the name of Buzz Lynch as the F-22 gives you a little profile of photo up and north. up against the Wasatch Mountains, up into the blue. These are the weather days that we long for each and every weekend. Now, in its environment, low, to your left, it is the A-10 Thunderbolt II. Single pilot environment, the pilot sits in what they call a titanium bathtub. Flying low is its environment. A lucky shot from an enemy rifleman on the ground could ruin the pilot's day. So they close the pilot, his avionics, all of his vital equipment in that titanium bathtub to protect the pilot. One of the vertical rudders could be shot away and get the pilot home. One of the engines could be destroyed and shot away and shut down, and the other engine will get the pilot home. In fact, an actual story in the combat arena, one of the A-10 pilots did take a hit from a ground-based artillery, shot out the rudder in one of the engines. That pilot went to manual reversion and flew the airplane back to the base in the Middle East with one engine and one rudder. The aircraft was repaired. Several days later, was back out in combat. That pilot had a call sign given to the pilot at the squadron when they all start out as young lieutenants. Call sign was KC. Turned out that meant killer chick. Yes, it was a female pilot. She has since retired from the Air Force. She is out on the speaking tour now, telling about the exploits in the A-10 Thunderbolt II. A great testament to the designers, the builders. A-10 versus A-9 competition was hands down going to be the winner of the A-10 for many different reasons, including the fact that the airplane sits high off the ground. When you're loading those hard points underneath the belly and the wings of the A-10 Thunderbolt II, the installers can stand up underneath the wing. They can bring up the bombs and rockets and attach them to the bottom of the wing on a scissors device. They don't have to lay on their back beneath the wing in an uncomfortable position to attach those. That was even part of the reason the A-10 won the competition over the A-9. So both aircraft now have touched down. It is a testament to the men and women of this facility here in Ogden who keep them flying, the folks on the ground and the folks in the air, each and every day. To all of you dedicated professionals, to all you great professionals, military people and civilian people, ladies and gentlemen, at this show, will you join me in giving them a big round of applause for keeping our nation safe, keeping our pilots safe in a very professional way. And understand this, we love you. Thank you so much. Now, we took you into the world of training with the Watson brothers flying their twin Yellow Thunder aircraft, their Harvard aircraft in the air. Let's go again now to a Commonwealth country, the United Kingdom. You know, towards the end of World War II, jets were being introduced. The jet engine came out. It was quite unreliable. Quite often they exploded on an aircraft. They burned a lot of fuel. They were unreliable. But it was going to be the beginning of the jet era. So while the enemy had jets that devastated our allies in World War II, the United States, before the end of the war, although it is only written in certain places, did have the Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star involved in World War II in Italy, it has been written by Robert Dorr in a book called Fighting Hitler's Jets. An armed P-80 shooting star was on a mission, and it was kind of written by Robert Dorr that it was a clandestine series of missions. But the British were very busy as well. They were developing their first jet. And I've got to give credit to the British. They hit a home run. We'll tell you about that airplane, about the pilot who is flying that airplane. He is a civilian. As we look at the A-10 Thunderbolt II, sitting high off the ground with the twin rudders, twin engines on the back, and the V-tail F-22 Raptor. All right, low and to your left, Jerry Connolly's on the takeoff roll. He is sponsored by UAVAX. Great solutions for your 2020 transponder needs. Ultimate Aviation, Gulf Coast Avionics, and Concorde batteries. Now, low and to your left, look at the unusual design. If you remember the P-38 Lightning of World War II fame, it had a box tail, and you'll see that same type of tail design, that is, what are you trying to say? Tail design on this airplane. Now, it is a pure jet. Of the many things the British thought about, and they thought about a lot of things, is they used balsa wood and pressed plywood for the nose cone. Remember, strategic metals were very much sought after during World War II, so they used wood where they could. Now, the tail cone is aerodynamic. They wanted this to be a fast, early jet, so they shaped it in the shape of an egg, which Mother Nature has made a perfect, streamlined object. That's just the truth. So it is egg-shaped. Now, it could be a trainer, it could be a solo aircraft, could be a two-place, could be an attack aircraft, could be an aircraft carrier aircraft, and a high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft. In fact, it was all those things. So let's go back to the fact that it was 1945 when they started to fly the aircraft and the war was ending. But they knew we were going into the jet age. So several things they did well. I told you about the unreliable jet engines. This one has a Goblin engine, and it has 3,500 pounds of thrust. What racers do when they race cars is to have a very short exhaust stack, and that keeps the horsepower from being bled by exhaust pipes. So the tail cone of the jet engine is extremely short. Now you look at the box tail and you say, okay, now the jet blast from that jet engine, which is quite severe, is going to buffet that tail. Here's what the British did. They raised the tail. They gave it an angle from its angle point back to that box so that the jet blast did not touch any of the components of that box tail. That was another ingenious method. So they kept the thrust up. They didn't waste thrust with the long tailpipe. They had the structure in the back. They had aerodynamics. It was light in weight because they used wood wherever they could, just as they did with their de Havilland Mosquito aircraft. All right, over our left shoulder, there is the design I wanted to tell you about. Introducing our pilot, we call him Jerry the Jet Conley. He's from Crestview, Florida, a United States Air Force veteran, an aerospace engineer, 42 years of flying experience, typed in this jet and many other jet fighters. And you know about his sponsors. And you know this goes back to the early days of jets. Okay, Jerry Jet Connolly, high and to your right. More about the aircraft. even though its design goes back to after World War II, 1945, there is a jet class of racing at the Reno National Championship Air Races held in Reno the second week of September every year. And in the jet class, an aircraft like this one, not this one, won the gold a couple of different years. So it is still in competition with aircraft like the Iskra, like the L-29, like the L-39, and other straight-wing jet aircraft. Brought home the gold. Now let's go on the high-altitude aircraft. Putting another set of larger wings on this aircraft, they broke a record in terms of altitude for aerial recon. In 1948, they flew one of these aircraft with the high-altitude wings up and recorded an altitude of over 59,000 feet of altitude. That was an amazing thing to do. They have a number of firsts with this aircraft. It was...
All right, we're back here at Broadcast Central. Dan Hawkins alongside Matt Gephardt from KSL 5, and we are absolutely delighted now to be joined by Major Kristen callsign Beowulf, the commander and the F-35A Lightning demonstration pilot. Ma'am, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good.
Great.
So yesterday, picture-perfect conditions to fly and in front of a fabulous home crowd. What'd you think of the crowd yesterday?
No, that was awesome. Just to walk through the people and see all the support, them to recognize, us in our uniforms, point out like, hey, that's our F-35 team, and just the support, when we land and get out of the airplane. Everybody's excited to finally see us and get a front row seat for our performance. So it was awesome. We're looking forward to doing it today.
We've talked a lot this morning about STEM and the importance of STEM to the Air Force, and I know that you're an engineering graduate.
That's
so
right.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how STEM has played a major part in getting you to where you're at in this point of your Air Force life?
Sure. I was always interested in math and science as a kid, so being a chemical engineer in college kind of just came naturally, and it was a degree I actually enjoyed pursuing. The message we like to share is, whatever your kids show an interest in as a young person, just foster that and get them excited about that, whether it's STEM, whether it's, the arts, whatever. You can be any degree and be a pilot in the Air Force, which is something cool that we try to tell people. But absolutely, having that engineering background has helped, just think critically and be a pilot in the Air Force. So I loved it.
Yeah. What is it like? What is it like the F-35? This is the newest, the best, the greatest the Air Force has at this point. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
What is it like to fly it?
It's super lucky, right? So we talked about it yesterday. I fly these airplanes. These two out here will probably have less than 300 hours on them total. They came off the factory line, less than 2 years ago, and they're years newer than my car. So you get in, and they're all just spick and span, really clean, work phenomenally. So I feel lucky to fly the newest and greatest one, but it means like the tactics, and when we take these things to combat, they perform top, like tip of the spear. They're night one. This is who we're going to call on. So it's amazing.
Yeah, yesterday we talked with Colonel Anderley. He's the 388th, the fighter wing commander, and one of the things that he talked about, and I think we might have touched on it yesterday, but we didn't really talk about it a lot. He said, that you're an instructor pilot when you're not in show season. So, for those that, probably see you in the sky and they think that's all you do, can you kind of maybe talk a little bit about what you actually do operationally for the Air Force?
Yeah, so we're obviously out here at air shows and we travel around, and that's our full-time job on the demo team, but it's a very, very small piece of what goes on at Hill Air Force Base. We've got 78 tails and about 100 pilots out here that are practicing combat skills, and, even deployed today as we speak. We've got a squadron gone. So when we come back from a show, kind of regroup or have some time off, I go teach young kids how to be flight leads or instructors, and take them out there maybe on their first flight out here in Utah, just to try to bring a piece of that mission to the combat mission when we're not doing air shows. So it's a huge machine, but they do it really well.
You hear a lot about G's as a civilian, right? They talk to us a lot about G's and the G forces. This one can do 9 G's.
That's right.
Without putting me in it, please. What does that feel like? What does that do to you? What kind of stress does that put you under?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, like 9G sucks. No matter what airplane you're in, it feels a little bit different, and we're wearing all the gear to try to help combat that. But it kind of becomes second nature once you've been in cockpits for 11 years now. So the training is great, but 9Gs is 9Gs, and it's terrible. You've got that 5-pound helmet on that now weighs 45 pounds. You can't move your arms. You've got all the stress on your upper shoulders and back. But we're professionals in staying awake in the airplane. So, but yeah, you probably would enjoy it if you don't enjoy 3Gs on a roller coaster.
I think people might not, and it kind of came up slightly yesterday too. But what is your post-performance routine? Because I imagine it's kind of like professional athletes. They played a game last night and they got to prepare because you got to perform again at the exact same performance level today as you did yesterday. So what do you do after a performance, knowing on a 2-day air show that you got to fly again today?
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? So we perform usually a rehearsal in 2 show days in a row. If not, sometimes we're about to go to Oshkosh, which is over a week long. And it's just fly every day, fly your butt off. So, you definitely try to stay hydrated, eat well, work out if you can. But our post-flight routine is just to walk the line with the crowd, get to say hi to the people, and then we go back and talk to the maintainers of, hey, how did the jet do? Talk to my safety pilot, how do the maneuvers look like? We watch ground video to see, what you guys are seeing at Show Center might be very different than what I think I'm showing you guys. So it's a lot of debrief and then just rest and relaxation to get ready for the next day.
Yeah. Talk a bit about your team. What kind of team does it take to put on the demo?
Yeah, obviously everybody sees 15 minutes of the airplane and they think, oh, that's awesome, the pilot's amazing. But it's really, I have a team of 15 guys and girls behind me that make this airplane fly, right? So 10 of those are maintainers. A variety of career fields we have, represented all by Hill Air Force Base, active duty airmen. So we've got crew chiefs who take care of the airplane, think a basic car mechanic, but now we're working on fighter engines. We've got avionics that does all the computers and software and systems on the airplane. And then we've got weapons people who load bombs actually onto actual real airplanes. And then we have aircrew flight equipment that takes care of all that survival gear that I talked about, my G-suit, my helmet, and that sort of stuff. So it takes hours of work beforehand, and they're here sometimes hours after I fly just to make sure that airplane is safe. So they're a huge piece of the mission. They're out there doing our job is recruiting, right? Getting people excited to fill my shoes one day. So they're out there, selling swag today for 6 hours, just talking to the crowd. So they're a huge piece of the mission. We couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, and you talk about that, the interaction with the crowd, and really obviously showing the demonstration of the aircraft is one aspect, and making sure that the American population knows that we are ready to fly, fight, and win. But recruiting the next generation of airmen and guardians is also a really important aspect of what you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, that is our mission. Recruit, retain, inspire the next generation to fill my shoes. And we're dealing with, different generations react differently and are inspired by different things. So for us to get out there and be relatable, so we try to hire, we have, a very diverse group of maintainers and airmen on the team just to say, hey, here's my story. It's not the same as her story. It's not the same as his story. But you can do any of these things in the Air Force. It doesn't have to be just be a pilot, We've got all these mechanics, chefs, lawyers, doctors, you name it. So that's our goal, is to go out there and spread that to the people, not just the airplane flying. So,
as a civilian hanging around, living in the Air Force Base for the last 20 or so years, and being on various tarmacs and stuff, one of the things that is striking about military is, and the Air Force in particular, and the aircraft, is the precision of it all. You must be precise in the air, of course, for obvious reasons, but the precision of the crew to get you ready. I remember I went on a tour as a Boy Scout back in the days, and they were literally talking about, no, these rivets won't do because they stick out and there's drag, and that causes. And when you're going that fast and you're doing with that much precision, you can't have anything imprecise. Talk about that if you would, please.
Yeah, obviously there's the pilot side, right? And everything's very scripted, very altitude, airspeed, exact, and we debrief to nitpick it. Were you at Show Center? How did this maneuver look? But then the maintenance side as well, they have millimeters of precision that they have to adhere to. Even things I go out there and I say, no, this looks great.
It's fine.
And they're like,
yeah.
Absolutely not. You're not flying that today. It's not safe. So just to hear from their side, they're subject matter experts on the actual airplane. I'm trained to handle emergencies that happen to an extent and bring the airplane home safely. But the way these guys can take apart a motor, take it out of the airplane, put it back in, and unscrew 1,000 rivets, that is just, we're all precise in our very individual career fields, and that's what makes the military special, I think, working with, experts in every single career field.
And I think that could be a misnomer, right? Like we've talked about STEM and like, it's important if I want to be an F-35 pilot, but like, the teams like the Thunderbirds and like the F-35 demo team, I think the fact that STEM is such a big factor in even what our enlisted career fields do. I mean, and obviously there's a lot more enlisted in the military than officers, but can you maybe just, from a broad perspective, talk about, the really important role that our airmen and NCOs play in making, because you can't do what you do without them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, there's one pilot on the team and there's 15 other people, right? And we take them on the road and they're doing all the legwork in the back shop. So having those guys, and we put a lot of burden on them more than we used to. We used to have very specific career fields and maintenance broken out, and that was all they did. Versus now we're taking like whole concept airmen. We're teaching them almost everything on the airplane to be able to fix and do on the road. So there's a lot on their shoulders, and they are very good at abiding by the manuals and doing everything to a T to make sure that's safe. But they are way more experts on the engineering side than I am on the airplane, even being an engineer myself. So we rely on those skills to keep me safe in the air, and honestly the whole fleet, especially when we're talking like combat systems. That's very different than what we're doing to keep those pilots alive when they're going to war.
What's the coolest thing about the F-35A?
Ooh, man. It's just the latest and greatest fighter. You've got laugh like a 1 foot by 2 foot touchscreen. That's the only display in the airplane.
So it's like a Tesla.
Yeah, I need a Tesla now. Like I feel outdated. So one for gas prices and for its coolness factor. It's just the latest and greatest airplane, and I think the cool part is we're about 11 partner nations right now have this airplane, and so to go talk to either the Italians, Australians, the Brits, and say like we're flying the same airplane. We can talk the same tactics, the same sensors, and fly the same formations next to each other. To know that they're training to the same things, we're that much more lethal as a force, and to say, hey, we're all on the same team here, guys, and we're flying the same airplane, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and flying those same weapon systems and the interoperability it brings to our combined partners around the world. I mean, absolutely critical to today's national, security environment. It's as dynamic as it's ever been, and obviously the F-35. Probably one of the most visible symbols of that interoperability.
Yeah, absolutely.
So really cool stuff. We know you're busy. We know you got a lot of things on your plate. So for the second day in a row, you stopped by. So we really appreciate that so much. But, we'll leave you, with this, if there's a young person watching this and they want to grow up and be you one day, what do they need to do?
I just tell, parents or kids, just get in a cockpit. Get airborne, get some air under your feet and see how you like it. Every flight's different. I didn't have a lot of flight time growing up, but I was exposed to that by Dad being in the Air Force. So get some flight time. It's really expensive, but there are scholarships out there to be able to do it. Whether you're interested in general aviation, military aviation, there's so many paths these days, and it's an amazing opportunity to get into, whether it's an actual career or just a hobby.
Yeah, the Air Force Recruiting Service has programs like Aim High Flight Academy. I mean, just a lot of different ways
Silver
now.
Patrol is a great one
to get flight hours. So yeah, that's a great point.
You probably learned on like a Cessna or something, right?
Yeah,
this is slightly different.
I did like 2 flights in a Cessna and I went straight to military pilot training.
So
it was hit the ground running.
It's a little different.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look and learn a little bit more about Major Kristen Beowulf's F-35 demonstration team.